Hello everyone, my name is Zach and welcome to On Cash Flow, where I help you become a master of your own cash flow. Now let's get started. Today I want to talk about rental property number 3, and this one is a little bit near and dear to my heart because this one started out actually as my primary residence when I first moved to Tennessee for geographic arbitrage. And the picture that you're seeing here is my before picture. So this is basically what the house looked like when I bought it in December of 2020. Since then, the outside looks a little bit different. The main difference is this retaining wall right here. We had it patched up and fixed up really well, and we painted it a really light gray, and it looks pretty darn good. All the windows on the outside, except for this giant window right here in the living room, was also redone. So these are all new windows right here. You'll notice here that the before and the after is the same. And that's because this house already had a finished basement. And so unlike the other first two properties where we were finishing the basements in order to increase the square footage, we didn't need to do that with this property because the basement was already finished. So it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and the square footage is 1,936 square feet. Now let's get into the numbers here because this is going to be really interesting. You'll see on these numbers here, March of 2024 put as the purchase price because what we actually had to do, since it was my primary residence, is we kind of had to initiate a sale to our LLC. And the sale price was $200,000. And this is also a little bit unique because included in that purchase price, the renovations were already done to the property. So we were renovating it while I was still living there as my primary residence. So it wasn't necessarily a rental expense just yet for all these renovations. And so what we did was we included the value of those renovations in the purchase price that we put for the LLC. That is basically the purchase price that we put down when my business partner and I purchased it in our LLC from myself and my wife's name. And then the closing costs on this loan were $4,674, and we'll look at that in a second. And the down payment that we had to leave was $30,000. So yes, I had to come up with, half of that. My business partner came up with half of that, but then it went right to me because I was selling it to myself. It was a really weird way, but that's how the bank wanted to do it. So we put this total acquisition cost at $34,674. Let's take a quick look at those closing costs for this property. So the loan that we got was 85% of $200,000, which is $170,000. And so that put our loan origination fee at 1%, which is $1,700. And then we got it appraised, and that cost $450. So what we chose to do was look at the home inspection that I got from 2020. And funny story about this, we actually had the guy come out again because the appraiser had an issue at one point. And so we needed to kind of get a second set of eyes on it. So I actually got the same original inspector from 2020 to come out in 2024. And he did a look over everything and wrote a report up. He went ahead and actually didn't charge us for an inspection. So that was really cool. And then we have some other loan fees here, $72. And then we prepaid the insurance for the full year at $808. We didn't have to put up any escrow reserves because the particular mortgage that we got, they didn't hold escrow. So we are paying our insurance and our property taxes on our own for this property. We don't have to have it in escrow. And then the title fees for this cost us $610. We didn't get title insurance for this property because for some reason the bank didn't require it on their end. But also, I had already had title insurance for when I purchased it in 2020. So we had already gone through that process. And since I'm one of the named persons on that property, it should still be valid. Then we have recording taxes. That was $1,034. And then we add all that up, and that's our total closing costs, $4,674. Based on this purchase price of $200,000, that means that our percentage was 2.3%. And this is on the lower end because, like I said, we didn't have to have the inspections and the bank didn't require any escrow reserves or title insurance. So I think that's why that percentage was particularly low on this property. Now let's go back to our main tab here. So purchasing it in March of 2024, the loan amount was $170,000, and this is the highest interest rate that we have on any property, 7.99%. So it was particularly high. I think this is among the peak of interest rates right here when we were getting this property. And so we definitely hope to refinance this at a lower rate in the near future. So this puts our monthly mortgage at $1,422. Now, when we did the rehab on this property, it didn't require as much work as, let's say, property number 2, but we did do a few things that were like CapEx items. So for example, included in this $30,000 cost for the rehab, we replaced the entire heat pump system. So that was a very big portion of that $30,000. We also replaced the roof. So that was a pretty big portion as well. And then one of the other major things was we replaced the windows. So, that was kind of expensive as well. We didn't have that much renovations that we needed to do, that much rehab, but the ones that we did do was kind of high ticket items. So this rehab cost us around $30,000. And remember, this was actually previously to the purchase of $200,000. So the $30,000 rehab that we put into the house, it made the house more valuable for when we went to go and purchase it in the name of the LLC. I put holding costs on here. Basically, after everything was done, the holding costs I put for 2 months. So that's the mortgage for 2 months and 2 months of estimated like utilities and miscellaneous expenses. And so with those holding costs, our acquisition plus rehab is actually going to be more than this number right here. I forgot to add something on here. Give me 1 second here. My bad. There you go. That looks more realistic. So because we had to come out of pocket for the rehab for $30,000, we add up the rehab, the holding costs, and the acquisition cost. And so that was $67,718 of cash needed in order to get this house ready and get it rented. The monthly rent for this property ended up being $1,500. And this is where our moneymaker was, the after repair value. The property got reappraised actually at $230,000. Now keep in mind, we had to actually pick how much we wanted to put the purchase price for before we knew what it appraised for. So we had to kind of guess ourselves. Our guess was, let's put $200,000 and get the $170,000 mortgage. But we were pleasantly surprised that all that rehab work that we put into it and putting in those CapEx items, it got us appraised at $230,000. Based on the timing of me making this video and when this property was acquired and put as a rental, there's not much time in between that. So let's take a look at what I estimate the property to be at today. So right here, we have the square footage here, and then this is the median listing home price per square foot in that zip code. $159. And then as usual, I take a conservative adjustment here and I adjust it down by 25%. That puts us at $119 per square foot. Multiply that by the 1936 and that puts my estimated value at $230,868. So I estimate the value to be around the same amount as it was appraised a few months ago. With our current mortgage, we've done a little bit of paying down on that principal. So it's currently at $167,972. And if we take that estimated value and subtract out that current mortgage, I estimate that we have $62,896 of equity in the property. That would put us at a loan to value of 73%. And there you have it. That is rental property number 3. And if you haven't watched it, I definitely recommend that you first watch my videos on rental property number 1 and rental property number 2, because every property that we've worked on, it's had a different story. So it is actually pretty cool. Like 1 is so much different than 2 and 2 is so much different than 3 and so on. I do currently have one more property video that I need to make, rental property number 4. So that's coming next. So please stay tuned for that. And if you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you took a quick second and hit the like button on this video, because it really does help me out. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm Zach from OnCashflow.com, and I hope to see you next time.